What's up, guys? LQ here with the LQ Review. Thank you so much for joining me here at my YouTube channel. This is where I talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that I love to talk about. And I want to give you guys my thoughts on Season 1 of Creature Commandos. So it's done. The 7 episodes are complete. The season finale just came out. And I gotta tell you guys, this, for me, was a great start to the DCU. Now, this isn't something that's going to be totally accessible to anybody, right? I know that there's probably a ton of people out there who watch superhero content in the theaters. Maybe they watch some TV shows, but a animated cartoon about the Bride of Frankenstein and a fish woman and a Nazi killing robot and a weasel, it's not something that has broad appeal. So initially, I questioned why this was the first thing coming out in the DCU. I really thought that maybe Superman should have been the first thing to come out. But then it kind of dawned on me that, excuse me, but then it kind of dawned on me that the fact that it doesn't have broad appeal kind of works in its favor. This isn't something that is, I've seen where it ranks in HBO Max, and it's one of the higher ranked shows on HBO Max right now. But it's not something that's going to really move the needle for your everyday non-comic book fan cinema goers. The people who go to the movie theaters to watch comic book movies but aren't really comic book fans. They don't read the comics, they don't play the video games. Their knowledge of the characters extends to what they see on the big screen. This isn't going to move the needle for them one way or the other. It's not going to make them excuse me. It's not going to make them want to see it more or less based on Creature Commandos. But what it is going to do is it is going to appeal to those comic book fans. It is something, so somebody like me who's been reading comic books since 1987, it is going to move the needle for us. And a lot of that grassroots excitement and energy comes from comic book fans. Now, make no mistake, us comic book fans, we are the vast, 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 vast minority when it comes to movie theater tickets. To be successful as a movie, you have to appeal to the general audiences. You don't have to appeal to it's good to appeal to the comic book fans, but they are not the most important demographic. The most important demographic are the general audiences. The people who have never picked up a comic book in their life, or maybe the people who read comic books 20, 30 years ago and haven't really picked one up since then. Those are the people who you need to appeal to. The people who maybe buy 1 or 2 movie tickets a month instead of going to see a movie every week. Those are the people you really need to appeal to. You need to get the general audiences out to the movies. That's how Marvel did it. That's how Marvel was successful, and that's how the DCU needs to be successful. And So it seems like the Superman trailer did that, by the way. The 5th most viewed movie trailer of all time. It seems like it really struck a chord with general audiences. But a show like this does not have to appeal to the general audiences. It just needs to appeal to the comic book fans. And what can happen is those comic book fans can generate, there is enough of us, even though we're the vast minority, there is enough of us that we can generate some excitement, right? In my circle of friends, I'm the only one who's a comic book nerd. The rest of my friends are people that I would classify as general audience. That's one of the reasons why I started this channel, because I wanted to have an outlet for talking with people like me. So all of my friends in my entire circle are people who I would classify as general audience. And all the time, like every single time a comic book movie comes out, I get friends in my circle who ask me about, what do I think of it? And that's because I have knowledge of the material. and then they'll give me their take on it. And just being honest, sometimes they disagree with me. Sometimes they disagree with me. I loved Snyder's films. I did. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm perfectly happy with the fact that the reboot is happening. I loved Man of Steel. I loved Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition. I love Snyder's cut of Justice League, but I understand that it needed to be rebooted. And here's why. Because while I loved the Snyder films, nobody else in my circle even liked them. Nobody liked them in my circle. And I think that's representative of the general audience. The Snyder trilogy didn't strike a chord with general audiences, and I think that's what James Gunn is trying to do. He's trying to appeal not just to the comic book fans, but to the general audiences. But all the time, I have friends reach out to me and ask me what I think about it, and they'll disagree with me sometimes after I tell them what I think about it, and sometimes they'll disagree with me because I'll like something because it's comic accurate, and they're like, well, that's kind of stupid. uh, excuse me. Um, Even sometimes with TV shows, I'll have friends reach out to me and they want to talk about it because they know that I'm a big fan of that stuff, especially, the source material. I had several friends reach out and want to talk about the Penguin. And so yeah, being a comic book fan can help to generate excitement for something. Um, I know that I've told pretty much all my friends about Creature Commandos. I don't think any of them have watched it because it doesn't appeal to general audiences. But I've told them all about it. So because of that, everybody in my circle, their awareness of this show has at least increased. And that's just a small microcosm of what can happen when a comic book property on screen, whether it's the small screen or the big screen, excites the comic book fans. They start talking about it to their general audience friends. Like I said, I don't know if any of my friends have watched it. I don't think they have, but like I said, their awareness of it is up. But I also know that out of my circle, my circle has been very critical of DC for the past, 10 plus years. They are all looking forward to Superman. So again, it just kind of something. It says James Gunn's doing something right as far as that's concerned. But Creature Commandos worked for me on a comic book level. Now, just complete transparency here. These are all characters. The majority of them are characters that I haven't really read a lot in the comics. I have had a pull file at my local comic book store since 1986, 1987, somewhere around there. Consistently. Never stopped. The titles will change, but I've never stopped having a pull file. And I'd say 80% of the titles that I pull are DC. And when you start talking about The Bride, G.I. Robot, Weasel, start talking about these characters, Dr. Phosphorus, very, very few comics I own these characters have appeared in. G.I. Robot a few times, Dr. Phosphorus a few times, but it's very few. These are not characters that I have intentionally followed. They might pop up here and there in books that I do follow, but none of them I've intentionally followed. I did have a pull file, or I did have a pull. I was pulling the Justice League Dark comics, to the last two incarnations of Justice League Dark, and Frankenstein played a pretty large role in one of those. I also pulled his miniseries that he had, Frankenstein Agent of Shade, that came out a little while ago, maybe, I don't know, 2014, somewhere around there. So it's been like 10 years. But so out of all of them, he's the one I'm most familiar with. But these are all characters that I'm not extremely familiar with, but it still felt, as I was watching the show, it felt very comic booky, right? And very true to the source material. Knowing what I know about, DC Comics, especially the New 52 on, this felt like it existed in that world. My biggest criticism of this would be two things. Number one, it was very gory, very bloody, lots of language. How that's going to mesh with the more kid-friendly movies that are be coming out, I'm not sure. That's something that James Gunn is going to have to navigate. And you have to make Superman PG-13. You have to make Supergirl PG-13. You have to make Batman PG-13. These movies need to be four-quadrant films. The comic book fans come out to it. The general audiences come out to it. They can bring kids out to watch it. You know, has to be something that spouses, that wives and girlfriends don't mind going to see with their guys. It has to be something that to some extent appeals to everybody. Something that the Snyder films just didn't do. As much as I love them, it just didn't do. My wife will sit down and watch a Marvel movie with me any night of the week. She has no interest in Snyder's films. And again, that's just a microcosm of the bigger picture. I think that the DC films have to be four quadrant films that appeal to everybody. And I don't think that DC has successfully done that. And like I said, I think that's something that Snyder's trying to do. But that means that the tone is going to have to be different than Creature Commandos. And that's something that James Gunn is definitely going to have to navigate. Having these more violent, I'm sure Peacemaker will be mature content. So, navigating the tone from feature film and TV show to feature film and TV show. And if there is going to be a big arc, like Marvel has their phases that have the arcs, it'll be interesting to see how he does that. And we know that chapter 1 of the DCU is called Gods and Monsters, so there is going to be a theme, probably going to be an arc of some sort. We just don't know the plans yet. But so that's my first criticism. My second criticism is that I think the season could have benefited from being another episode or two longer. The ending of this just kind of seemed like it just happened. Everything got kind of wrapped up very neatly and very quickly, and I would have liked to have seen another episode to flesh out the final resolutions to the princess and the Creature Commandos and Circe and all of that. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more exposition as far as what happens at the end and the impact that has on the greater DC universe. Those are just two things that I found to criticize it on. The rest of this, man, I just really enjoyed it a lot. It was appointment television for me. Like when it came out, first thing I did in the morning before I went to work was watch Creature Commandos. It was that kind of had that kind of anticipation for me. Sounds like we're gonna get a season 2. Can't wait for it. And this is a great start to the DCU. And it's, like I said, it's not going to move the needle for general audiences, but I do think that it's gonna get people like me talking, creating excitement from the nerd community, and I think that that's also very important. That's something that James Gunn has to do. And it looks like it's got high critic rating, looks like it's got a high audience rating, and that's something that it needs. So Creature Commandos was a big win for me. Really enjoyed it, and it's a great start to this new universe. So what did you guys think of it? Let me know in the comments down below. While you're down there commenting, make sure that you subscribe to this channel, and until next time, we'll see you guys later.